So we're out here at the Liberty Estate project. This is a very exciting time as we're beginning to go vertical now. We're having the slab poured. We actually only have 7 concrete trucks coming out to do the slab on grade. Now keep in mind there's going to be 2 pours, or essentially 2 phases out here. Day 1 is what we're doing right now, which is the main house. So this is the main footprint of the house. And then tomorrow we're going to come back and do the garage right here, 3-car garage, and then you have the pool house out back. So they're going to separate that. Part of it is that it's still warm here in Arizona. But overall, it's interesting as we work through a lot of our builds. Keep in mind, this is something that has to go with like the cost of the build. You know, a lot of clients will have the question, what's more expensive? You know, a basement, a 2-story, single story. And as you look at cost on average, it's typically most expensive to do a basement to your home, right? Because you're digging down, you're excavating, you have backfill, you have, of course, the concrete walls, and then all the waterproofing. So that's always, you know, most expensive option number 1. Number 2 is actually a single story, because that single story on the square foot, say you're doing an 8,000 square foot house, that's going to be spread out over 8,000 square feet, plus overhangs, plus the garage. And so that's a lot of footprint of concrete that's poured. The least expensive, of course, would be a 2-story. The reason being is that now on 8,000 square feet, you may be 4 and 4, so that footprint's a lot smaller. As you can see here, because some of the pours we have could have 20 trucks, 25 trucks, 30 trucks. Each truck has roughly 9 yards of concrete. So as you're going through the amount of trucks and amount of concrete, amount of yards that gets installed, it can vary, especially on some of these big hillside projects where we have a ton of trucks that have to come out to pour that. So this being 8,000 square foot house, only 7 trucks, roughly 63 yards of concrete. For the main house, again, that doesn't include the garage or pool house, which aren't overly large, but you can see here behind me, there's not a whole lot to the actual concrete portion. But we're out here this morning. We have the concrete boom here, you know, with the pump so that we can access access all around, you know, and get the exact access we want. You'll see a guy behind me, he's been going through, he's been adding a little bit of water. You know, it's really important to keep that moisture content exactly where it needs to be for that cure process as this goes through that, you know, 28-day cure cycle. But the good thing is because, you know, it's still warm out here, it's going to cure pretty fast. We can get in and out. That's why we started very early morning, as early as we could. Here in Phoenix, you'll see in the summer, we'll typically start 4:35 a.m. because of the heat. Right now, end of September, we can start a little later. We start at 6:30, so a couple hours later. Plus, you want to have a little bit of light, not too dark outside as you're working through the concrete pour. But working with Most Concrete, they're doing a phenomenal job. You see here, again, they're going to get everything ready to get all screeded and smoothed out. And again, very excited to get this phase complete because now we're going to start with the ICF. And keep in mind that what's unique about this is even though we only have 7 trucks now, we're going to have more trucks of concrete coming later because this house is actually built with structural steel. There's a lot of structural steel. This is one of the unique builds where all the interior flooring from 1st to 2nd floor is a steel deck with poured in place concrete, not gypcrete. You know, whenever you're using steel decking, you're going to go with a heavy concrete. And part of the engineering detail that we'll show you as we get to this point, you have these exterior ICF walls that'll be raised, right, for the 1st floor, and you have the steel deck. And what'll happen is to create this monolithic pour to really tie structurally into the build, we're going to leave, you know, a couple feet of that ICF up high empty, or essentially non-grouted without concrete, even though it has rebar. And when we install the metal deck, when we come pour that concrete, think of it like just an L. It's going to turn right in. So on one pour, that same concrete is going to come in and turn down that wall a couple feet. So it creates this, again, this monolithic pour over the edge, which really creates that strength, you know, in the home. So this is a home that's going to last a really long time because of the ICF and concrete. And by going with the steel deck, it can actually be more narrow, which means our ceiling heights are higher on the 1st and 2nd floor because we do have a height limit here in Gilbert. And because of that height limit going 2-story, it can now minimize that thickness of the floor, which means higher ceilings on the 1st and 2nd floor. Hence the reason we went that option. So a lot of fun content as you see the structural steel and the ICF go in. But again, here we are with Mo's, and they're doing a great job this morning.